The Yankees will not lose. 11 wins in a row. The first time that they have had such a winning streak since 1985, which was a surprise to me because, of course, the Yankees have had many good teams, some great teams over the past, let's say, 25 years. So it's the second time in it's the third time in a long time that they've won 11 straight games. So that's 11 consecutive wins. That is now 10 straight series victories, which I had it wrong last time. So apparently the Angel one game makeup was, I guess, considered a series. For some, I don't know why, but it was. So that now, since they won that one, that's now 10 straight series wins and 14 out of the last 15 series they've won, which that dates back to when they went to Seattle before the All-Star break. So, right around that Met doubleheader where they lost the first game, ever since they won that second game, they've just gone on a tear. It's really been remarkable. They win in different ways. They've really won a lot of close games. And we'll talk about this. Is just a 2-game set against a team that had been coming in on their own 9-game winning streak. The Braves have been coming in hot, and the Yankees win both in Atlanta to improve their record to 74-52. Just amazing that it's become that good in such a short amount of time. The feeling is so different. They're getting timely hits, pretty good defense, improved base running for sure, and what I'm impressed by is there's a lot of good bullpen pieces. Like, again, Wandy Peralta comes to mind again, where he is coming through. This stuff isn't necessarily impressive compared to some others, but Wandy Peralta has been put in some really difficult situations and has stepped up. And we'll talk about that. So, in this one, there would be news about Zach Britton before the series began that he has a elbow strain. It sounds like surgery might be in place, so we might have seen the last of Zach Britton. Nothing confirmed yet, and it was a tough season for him, right? Like, between injuries and effectiveness. So, and he's under contract next season. So, I think in some ways they can withstand that for sure. You never know. I guess I can't say it with full certainty, but I don't think it's a huge blow with the way that he had been performing. But so now he's on the shelf. Clay Holmes is back from COVID. He's back in the mix, and Jonathan Davis was on the roster and he did get a plate appearance in these 2 games. He has since been sent down, and I assume that the move will be for Gio Urshela. I assume that Urshela will be recalled for that Oakland series that starts. It's a Thursday to Sunday 4-game set. So also, when I spoke last episode, I wasn't sure if it was going to be, I knew it was going to be Montgomery, but would it be Heel or Heaney? And it ended up being Heaney. So I'm not that surprised by it. I mean, Heel deserves to be in this rotation, but I'm not sure due to roster constraints and things of that nature as to why it's not Heel. But either way, the Yankees win both. And let's talk about the first game. It would be Montgomery versus Inoa for Atlanta. And I didn't think Montgomery had his good stuff at all. He kind of just grinded through, but I'm not going to complain with 5 innings, 1 run. He was able to do what he had to. The lineups would be the same in both games. So no DH. So you had the alignment of Judge in center, Stanton in right, no Voit in the lineup, no Gardner in the lineup. And it would be, again, Odor at third would continue, and Velasquez at short, which I think was interesting just because Wade's done well also, but they went with Velasquez in both. So the Yanks would take the lead in the second, and it would be Giancarlo Stanton with a opposite field home run. Stanton's been hitting the ball well. There's going to be those at-bats that look awkward, but Stanton had a really nice night in Game 1, gets that homer, and gives the Yanks a 1-0 lead. But Dansby Swanson would respond right away in the bottom of the second with a home run of his own to tie it up at 1. Then in the 6th, let's just jump all the way to the 6th. Again, for Montgomery, he was able to kind of grit through 5. In the 6th, with Inoa still in the game, DJ LeMay would have a leadoff hit by pitch. Then with 2 outs, Joey Gallo walks. And again, Gallo At the plate, it's been a disappointment. It's not surprising, but he strikes out a lot. But he did draw a couple of key walks in these games. This was one of them, because with first and second two out, Giancarlo Stanton rips a 2-run double, gives the Yanks a 3-1 lead. And then Jonathan Loáisiga comes in, and he has just been so good, so filthy. I mean, his stuff is untouchable. He would make it out of the sixth without giving up a run. Then in the bottom of the seventh, pitches in a 1-2-3 inning. So he would go 2 innings, give up a hit, 4 strikeouts. Loáisiga has to be at the top of the heap in terms of bullpen options for the Yankees. Then at the top of the eighth, Edgar Santana would come on in relief for A.J. Minter, and it would be a 2-out rally. Aaron Judge singles, Joey Gallo walks again. Luke Voit pinch hits for Loáisiga as they had made a double switch. Stanton had come out of the game, and they had brought Gardner in with the intention that Loáisiga would go 2 innings. So that spot comes up, Voit walks. It was a good walk. And so now his base is loaded. They bring in Jesse Chavez in a very big 2-run single for Gary Sanchez. For Gary Sanchez, look, he's never going to be what he was, but he's been a lot more tolerable this season. The strikeouts seem to be less, and the bigger hits seem to be more frequent, and this was a big one, and that makes it 5-1, that 2-run single. Then in the bottom of the eighth, they bring on Wandy Peralta, and it wasn't the cleanest of innings, but it was a scoreless one. So Peralta, and I think he was honestly going to come in even if it had been a 3-1 game. He was warming up, but he came into a 5-1 game. And then bottom of the ninth, Aroldis Chapman, who struggled in his last outing, comes in a 5-1 game and gets a 1-2-3 inning, which at the time was good to see. Key thing being at the time. So we head to game two. Game two, the pitching matchup, honestly, I thought the Yankees were playing with house money. Like, they won the first game, and now it's Heaney versus Morton. Heaney, of course, did well in his last outing against the Red Sox, but it's been a struggle. And then Morton has been great this season, and he's been a thorn on the Yankees side for the last few years. But the Yankees end up on the winning end here. But in this one, the Braves would take the lead in the first. And Heaney, I thought, got a little bit screwed with 2 outs where Freddie Freeman, it looked like he was struck out, but they called it ball 4. It was close, probably was a strike. Then he hits Austin Riley, and then it's a 2-run double for Dansby Swanson. So that makes it 2-0 right off the bat. But give Heaney credit. He would settle down, and he wouldn't give up anything else. And then in the second inning, another home run from Giancarlo Stanton. Continues to really hit the ball and hit the ball hard. So that makes it 2-1, cuts the lead. Then in the top of the fourth, the Yanks would tie it. A double by Judge to start it out. Then, unfortunately, Joey Gallo strikes out, which is what he does, doesn't get the runner over. Then Stanton grounds out, and then with 2 outs, really great piece of hitting by Gary Sanchez. The right side was wide open, and that's exactly where he hits it. It's great to see. And so that ties it up at 2. And Heaney ends up going 4 innings. And part of the reason why he only went 4 innings, which it works out, was because he was pinch hit for in the 5th. So what happens is Andrew Velasquez gets a leadoff single. So he continues to make contributions. Then he would steal second while Brett Gardner had pinch hit for Heaney. So Heaney's out of the game, and it makes sense. Look, 4 innings, 2 runs, I'll take that. And the pen was mostly rested. So Gardner, unfortunately, does not get the runner over. So that's a couple of instances where they don't get the runner over to third. However, in both instances, it doesn't matter, as DJ LeMahieu hits a 2-run homer. That's good to see. The power stroke might be coming back for DJ. A really big homer off of Morton, and that makes it 4-2. Albert Abreu comes on in the 5th, gets the strikeout to start it out, then gives up a single to Albies, then he walks Soler. So not the best of outings for Abreu, but again, not horrible either. The Albies single was kind of a bit of a dunker, and it's a good hitter, and then he walks Soler, which you don't want to do, but there were some close pitches. Then Joely Rodriguez comes into a tough spot where he faces the lefty Freeman and gets Freeman out and almost got a double play, but unfortunately, with the 3-batter minimum, he had to face a righty, which was Austin Riley. This was an interesting outcome where Riley gets the hit, Albies scores, and then Freeman was running on the play from first. So there's a play at the plate, and they call Freeman out from Judge to Velasquez to Sanchez, but on replay, looked like he was probably safe. Now, whatever they called in the field was going to stand. So if it was called safe, it was going to stay safe. And since it was out, it stayed out. So I think he probably was safe, but it wasn't conclusive. So the Yankees keep the 4-3 lead. Then at the bottom of the sixth inning, Clay Holmes returns and does really well. Looked really good. 1-2-3 inning. Gets a strikeout. So good to see from Clay Holmes, who's going to be a big piece in the pen. Then at the top of the seventh, a guy who's been struggling, Rougned Odor, hits a really big solo shot. No doubt about it, home run to right field. And that gives the Yankees, again, that key insurance to make it 5-3. And then Green kind of pulls a Loizaga, and that's a good thing. Chad Green pitches 2 innings, the 7th and the 8th, and no runs. There was some bad base running by Atlanta in the middle of that, but mostly Green pitched really well. And I think that in this role, he can thrive. But let's head to the 9th. Let's head to the bottom of the 9th. This is where shit gets really the most interesting, and unsurprisingly so. So I told you Chapman pitched well in game 1. You knew he wasn't going to pitch well in game 2, and he didn't. And there were some things. It was a very crazy inning. So he gets the leadoff grounded of d'Arnaud. Good start. But then, unfortunately, Adam Duvall singles. But then Heredia strikes out. So you're thinking, all right, Adrianza pinch hits. And this is the classic Chapman fuck-up. He walks him on 4 pitches. You can't do that. With Albies, with the top of the order coming up especially, you cannot do that. And he just walks Adrianza. The pitches were not close, and that's where you get into trouble. Then it's a very long at-bat with Albies, which eventually leads to a play where on a full count, Albies just gets a piece of it. On replay, I couldn't tell. Honestly, it probably wouldn't have been overturned. I would have challenged it. I mean, what's the harm? But they don't. And then the next pitch, Albies, it was either the next pitch or the pitch after. So Albies goes from maybe striking out to staying alive. Then he hits a ground ball to Rougned Odor. And again, Odor, the good thing is Gio Urshela is coming back because Odor, he's not a third baseman. He took a long time to throw. The throw was a little offline and ends up being ruled as a great hustle by Albies, by the way. He busted it from the beginning. And so it's a single. Keeps it alive. Now it's bases loaded. 2 out for Jorge Soler. And Soler works a walk. And during this time, Wandy Peralta was warming up. So Chapman's out, which I agree with. If anything, I would have maybe taken Chapman out sooner. I would have maybe taken him out after he walked out Adrianza, but I knew they wouldn't. But here it is. Wandy Peralta, who has come up big time and time again recently, does it again against Freddie Freeman, who had good numbers off Peralta. And he got ahead of Peralta 3-1. And then Peralta at that point, from 3-1 on, throws like 5 straight pitches in the strike zone, which was the biggest thing. Like, no way Chapman would have done that. Not even close. And it eventually leads to Freeman flying out. Peralta somehow escapes that. And the Yankees win again. It's amazing what they've done. Another win. And now they head to Oakland for a 4-game set. And those pitching matchups are as follows. Tyone versus Caprolian, which I believe is a rematch of the first game that these teams played at Yankee Stadium earlier in the season. I'm pretty sure it was Tyone versus Caprolian. And Oakland ended up winning. It was a close game that Oakland won. Game 2 is going to be Garrett Cole versus Minaya. So they did a flip where Cole is actually going to pitch before Cortez. And if you remember in the series against Minnesota, it was vice versa. So I'm not sure why they did that. I'm sure they had a decent reason for it. But Cole versus Minaya, that should be a pretty good matchup. And the Yankees faced Minaya at Yankee Stadium, and he pitched really well. The Yankees won that game, but Minaya pitched really, really well. And then game 3 is going to be between Cortez and Frankie Montas. And then game 4 will be Sunday Night Baseball, Jordan Montgomery versus Paul Blackburn. And I believe Paul Blackburn used to be on the Twins. But these should be some pretty good matchups. Oakland's coming in really cold. The Yankees are now up, I believe, 4.5 games on Oakland. 5 on the loss side. So they're gaining a lot there. Tampa continues to win, so they're still about like 4 games back on the Rays. And so, things are really good for the Yankees, and let's just hope it continues. Again, 11 straight victories. Pretty remarkable stuff.